Yeah, I think we'll evaluate everything as we, finish out these last 4 games, But I think, Andy's done some good things. I think we've got to do a lot of other things around him to help him, and that includes, us as a coaching staff putting everybody in better positions.
Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you all so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Really do appreciate your time. If you do not know, this show is indeed live. I know it's a little bit later than most shows that we do, but this was the only time today I can get opportunity to do a podcast. So I appreciate you all that are tuning into this live. I ask that as you file in, you hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, I ask that you hit the subscription button and subscribe. And if you are on the fence about it, hopefully by the end of this show, we'll change your mind about that. On this edition, we're going to be talking about Saints head coach Dennis Allen and his decision to roll with Andy Dalton going down the road still. And what does this actually mean? For some of you that probably just saw that clip, that was Dennis Allen's latest press conference, talking a little bit about what they learned during the bye week, some of the adjustments they plan on making going down the stretch. The Saints aren't mathematically out of the playoffs, but I'm pretty sure everybody pretty much feels the same way I do at this point. It's a formality, and the New Orleans Saints, I guess they want to continue to go about their business as usual. And in this case, normally when people go about their business as usual, is an indication of a good thing. In this case, it's a pretty bad thing. And what I mean by that is very, very simple. This decision by Dennis Allen tells me 2 things. It tells me 2 things. Number one, I feel like somebody behind the scenes has given Dennis Allen a vote of confidence going down the stretch, which means that more than likely he's going to return to the New Orleans Saints as the head coach in 2023. I mean, to me, based on this decision, I just feel like they already pretty much gave him that vote of confidence, and all these different things that are excuses, in my opinion, are becoming justified by Saints trust. And I just think that there's indication that he's going to come back in 2023. Another thing that this has taught me, Who That Nation, is the Saints have absolutely no faith in Jameis Winston whatsoever. I'm just going to be 100. I don't think that Jameis Winston going to be coming back next year. I don't think that the Saints want him back next year. And I think that this decision actually pretty much sums it up, because regardless to how you may feel about Jameis Winston, rather you feel like, he's a turnover machine, or you feel like he just needs the opportunity and he'll be a really good starter. You have to admit, based on this season and having 4 games left and pretty much not making the playoffs, you have to believe that this man deserves an opportunity to go out there and play. All right. Even if it's not for the Saints, to evaluate him, at least allow him to put some positive stuff on tape. And the fact that the Saints aren't even willing to do that is a pretty much an indication that, they pretty much washed their hands with it. And, the more I think about it, Who That Nation, I'm going to be real with you. I had opportunity to kind of sit back and assess things today. The more I think about it, the more I feel like this dude was straight up sabotaged. Now, I'm going to say that again. I feel that this dude was straight up sabotaged. Because here's the realization of it. Jameis Winston started this season. Well, let's go back to the offseason. Let's rewind. Let's go back. We go to the offseason, and the New Orleans Saints tried to do everything they possibly can to acquire Deshaun Watson. That includes move money around. That includes, going out to see him, visiting with him, talking with him, or what have you. And Jameis was pretty much, on the outside looking in. He was coming off an ACL injury, and, he allowed the Saints to kind of do business. And, it didn't work out in the Saints' favor. They kind of just backed out the whole situation, which looks like the best idea in the world right now based on how Deshaun Watson has been playing over the last couple of weeks. But they end up circling back to acquire Jameis Winston. And Jameis Winston, in that regard, showed me that he wasn't their first choice. He wasn't the first choice at all. Now we fast forward to Jameis Winston playing in a game versus Atlanta. We all know how that turned out. They started off a little rough, and he ended up, facilitating the comeback. Then the following week, you understood like the dude was dealing with back pains and all that kind of stuff, right? So you knew that the dude had 4 fractures in his back. You knew that dude was hurt. But instead of you taking that into consideration like you've been doing everything else this entire season, you basically hung this dude out to dry. So to me, I just felt like the first line of trouble that the Saints found themselves in when it comes to Jameis Winston, it was grounds for them to yank him. And I just think that the whole Andy Dalton signing was, I'm pretty sure, I don't care what anybody says, they can deny it all day and night. Somebody pretty much promised this dude something. I ain't saying it's something big, but I'm thinking like something maybe a possibility. And maybe it has something to do with Jameis Winston's past and them not being too sure about that. It probably made Andy Dalton like more comfortable about coming to New Orleans because he felt like he'd have a better chance, because the first line of trouble, the Saints coaching staff, what they had was pretty much going to yank this dude. So I just feel like it's just straight up sabotage. Like, because here's the reality. For every mistake and every bad game that Andy Dalton has played, the Saints always find a way to justify his playing. Like, they ain't talking about offensive line. They ain't talking about route running. They ain't talking about bad catches. They ain't talking about none of that stuff. All they doing is backing it up with analytics and talking about what Andy doing pretty well. But I felt like if that's the case, then why wasn't this leash given to Jameis Winston? It just felt like the first line of trouble, the mistakes, the interceptions, and you knew why, he wasn't playing at a high level or playing like himself. But instead, you basically just use that as justification and try to roll with Andy Dalton. So for me, I just feel like based on the Saints still not, like, you can talk about analytics all day and night. They're not winning games. They're not winning games, and they're not coming up clutch when it matters. So for you to continue to justify Andy Dalton's playing and basically saying, oh, man, the offensive line ain't this, the wide receivers need to help him out, this, that, and the third, you're continuing to do that, but I didn't feel like it was the same energy for Jameis Winston. It was like, okay, the offensive line, he got sacked a couple of times, so yeah, we going to go ahead and get him up out of here. So it just seemed like the first line of trouble that they found, it just seemed like to me they were just ready to yank the dude. So I think that this was their plan all along. Like seriously, I really feel like this was their plan all along. I felt like the coaching staff, what they had on the team, wasn't that confident in Jameis Winston in the first place, and they feel like maybe Andy Dalton was a little bit more coachable, and they're backing this up with analytics, which I just feel like it's just totally unfair. Because analytics don't always tell you the whole story. It don't, like we can talk about people with high completion percentages and everything like that, but I mean, what did you actually earn? You lost. For example, back in the day, I want to say it was like 2015, the Saints played against the Carolina Panthers. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Drew Brees was dealing with an oblique injury, right? So in comes backup quarterback Luke McCown. Luke McCown comes in. He goes 32 of 39, 385 yards, no touchdowns, one pick, right? So he completed about 82% of his passes, but the Saints lost that game. So, I mean, you can talk about all these yards and all the and everything and all these percentages, but what happened when it mattered most? You choked and you didn't win. So, how is it that you can just give this guy the greatest vote of confidence and they still not winning? And yet, the first line of trouble when it came to Jameis Winston, like you were just ready to dip out on the man. So I just feel like to me, they never trust this dude in the first place. They trying to make it seem like this dude injury is just so severe. But how is it that his injury is so severe? He's able to dress, but he can't play. So to me, I just feel like they wanted Andy Dalton as the starting quarterback the entire time. And they were just basically waiting for the bottom to drop in any way in order to allow Andy Dalton to be out there because they felt like he would be more easier. And honestly, it'll be more lazy. It'll be because it don't force them to really have to think outside the box. But you all see how this actually turns out. Okay, you're not thinking outside the box. Thus the reason why you're losing. Thus the reason why you're not good. Because you're trying to find something that's close to Drew Brees, or you think you can try to replicate the game plan, but there's something that is missing that you're not accounting for. Andy Dalton is not Drew Brees. So to me, I just feel like based on that alone, like this coaching staff is incompetent because that is just straight up 100% lazy. Like you're willing to allow a guy who basically isn't going to get you anywhere, let you go anywhere at all. Like he's not going to lead you anywhere, but you can run the offense that Sean Payton and Drew Brees has made famous, but you're willing because you're willing to sacrifice that instead of using a guy like Jameis Winston's skill set, maybe adding a little bit more of an offensive scheme in order for your team to be more offensively efficient. You rather go with the original. So to me, on that, I just feel like these guys need to kick rocks just based on that. But I just feel like the dude got straight up sabotaged when I think about it. But I mean, I could be wrong. That's just my opinion. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. I want to make that very, very clear. It just seemed like to me, like I don't know. It's almost like you ever like went to a Pop Warner game and the coach, the coach has a son or something like that, or he has like another player or something like that. In the first line of trouble, maybe they had that little starter. He probably end up like running down the field and he end up tripping and the ball fumbles and it rolls down, but he never fumbles ever, you know what I'm saying? Or he rarely ever does it. But the first line of trouble, like, okay, man, we're gonna get him in the game. We're gonna put him in because it's the coach's son, like it's I want to put my son in the game. So I want to, I don't want to just make it seem like it's a, nepotism, but okay, this dude made a mistake, so let me put him in the game. It was my original plan the whole time. I was just waiting for the bottom to drop. So I just feel like that's what it was. The first line of trouble. No matter how, look, it could have been like something to me, like super light. I just feel like this is probably the direction they wanted to go in the entire time. They never wanted this dude. I mean, the whole Deshaun Watson situation just tells me that. Gotta say, I agree. Might be a lot more productive on Sundays instead of watching the game if DA is back. Andy still starting and be prepared for more boring offense against the Falcons. Dennis ain't shoot. He really ain't. Let's see. 4-10 this Sunday. David says fans are going to start voicing their opinions for the rest of this and next season by staying home if Dennis Allen stays. You're talking a future gamble on a 50 to 75% field dome, Mrs. Benson. I'm just saying. Yeah, I mean, look, nobody is trying to spend their hard-earned money. I'm going to continue to say this. I'm sounding like a broken record. Nobody is going to spend their hard-earned money to watch a Dennis Allen-led Saints team. Like, nobody is checking for that. Like, this dude, to me, in 1 year, in 1 year's time, has turned this team into one of the most boring, unexciting, uneventful teams that you ever going to see ever. And you know, the sad thing about it is, folks, I know we say this stuff a lot, it becomes a cliche, but a team is a reflection of their coach. And when you look at Dennis Allen, like, there's nothing inspirational about him. And yeah, you know, at the last game against Tampa, he's screaming on the sidelines, he dapping the guys up, and he's showing fire and desire and stuff. But at this particular point, I just feel like, look, as much as these coaches try to pretend like they don't pay attention to what people are saying, they do. Like, you human, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's impossible for you to not know what's really going on. And one of the biggest knocks that we have on Dennis Allen is the fact that he's, you know, unexcited and not motivational to us, boring, bland, vanilla, conservative. And all of a sudden now you want to go up here like you Bill Cowher or you know what I'm saying, some of these other coaches like Mike Tice or something. Like, come on, man, give me a freaking break. Nobody is buying this. And honestly, the morale is so low. Like, there's no coming back from this. It's no coming back from this. Like, you can keep this dude around and you can just say, oh, it was a mistake. You know, a lot of things going on, which to me, it's too much of this going on in media, in my honest opinion. A lot of people, they might throw a little something out there to make it seem like they call it like it is, but I'm seeing a lot of stuff trying to justify this dude as a coach, and I'm just not buying it. Like, if you're not sitting up here telling people that this dude ain't it, then honestly, like, you just basically just kind of save face or trying to save your reputation, or maybe you trying to stay within the circles that you already developed. Maybe you get a couple little news stories. Me personally, you know what I'm saying, I don't have to do that. Like, that's the best thing about it. You know, me, I don't have to do that. I ain't got to go along to get along, and I ain't got to, you know, say mind my tongue because I'm worried about, oh, I can't talk to this person anymore. Like, if you don't roll with me, if you don't watch enough of my shows to know that I'm pretty objective, then man, I don't need you on it. You know what I'm saying? But let's just call it for what it is. Like, this dude is not good as a coach. And we up here talking about injuries and we talking about all these different things. But once again, we seen this team early in the season when they had all hands on deck. They were losing. We seen this team when they was injured and they losing. So we also even seen this team winning and giving up leads. Like, we also seen conservative play, coaches that seem like they way out of their league. Like, we seen this stuff. And for people just to try to blame it on injuries and start talking about, you know, comparing Dennis Allen approach to Sean Payton, which is laughable. It's funny. You know what I'm saying? To me, you know, I just think that that's just absolutely, like, ridiculous. It's ridiculous, man. Obviously this dude isn't good. Like, if it walks like a duck, sounds like a duck, waddles like a duck, I mean, it ain't a Kodiak bear, it's a duck. This dude has had a total of 4 years, you know, as a head coach in the National Football League, dating back to Oakland, and the highest, most wins he ever had was 4. This dude never had a back-to-back win in his entire coaching career. And yet the same thing that you saw in Oakland are the same things that you're seeing in New Orleans. So I don't understand, like, how anybody can just sit up here and just say, well, you know, it's the injuries. And, you know, I mean, the Saints have been dealing with a lot of stuff. Nah, bro. It's rather you got it or you don't. And this dude doesn't have it. Like, right as of right now, as it stands right now on December 13th, 2022, this dude doesn't have it. And I don't understand, like, what else do you need to see? Like, what else do you need to see? Dude is not a good head coach, period. Dude can coach my defense any day. But as a head coach, he's not good. So I just don't understand it. Like, I just think that people are trying to put a square peg into a round hole when you're trying to justify Dennis Allen. Like, look, even if I'm gonna be honest with you, even if the Saints were losing, and I seen like he wasn't just getting out coached, like bad decisions down the stretch, or you know what I'm saying, not being aggressive. Like if I start like seeing him like being aggressive and better coaching decisions, I'd be like, okay. But the dude, like when it comes to a coach that actually knows what they're doing, like a well-respected coach or something like that, like dude, get out coached. John Harbaugh outcoached him. Mike Tomlin outcoached him. Kyle Shanahan outcoached him. Like that, for the exception, I want to say maybe Sean McVay as a credible coach, like he getting outcoached. And like it's just not a good look, man. And like how is the Saints Trust going to sell this dude once again in 2023 to the masses? I just don't know. I don't know how you do this. Like morale has not been this low in like over 20 years. Like seriously. Like I don't even think morale was this low in 2005 when Hurricane Katrina hit. Because honestly, I just felt like people were thinking about more things like where they gonna stay versus the Saints being 3-13. It's bad, man. It's bad. And I don't know how you can fix this. I don't know how you're gonna fix this, because bringing this dude back, you're basically saying like, okay, we're willing to sacrifice early ticket sales. Like, cause you ain't selling out. Like seriously, you ain't selling out. Like you got to give people something to invest in. Okay. Everybody ain't rich and living on a hill. Everybody ain't out there on Lakeshore Drive somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like people are making decisions, like, like putting money aside because they want to have an enjoyable experience. So ain't nobody gonna be sitting up here, sacrificing, I don't know, that new power tool kit, or maybe that man cave that they were trying to make. Ain't nobody gonna sacrifice that to go sit up in those Saints Superdome and watch the Saints, wet the bed week after week under Dennis Allen. It's just not happening. So you're willing to sacrifice that. Like they cannot possibly believe. Like you gotta be delusional. You cannot possibly believe that if you bring back Dennis Allen, that you still gonna have the same ticket sales, you still gonna have people packing the dome, people gonna show up, but it's not gonna be in droves like they did, because you got to give somebody something to believe in. That's just the way that it goes. I don't care. Look, people, that don't mean that you're not a Saints fan. I want to make that very, very clear, because somebody might be under indication, be under the indication that I'm saying that. No, all I'm saying is, look, when you making financial decisions, you know what I'm saying? You making financial decisions. It don't mean anything about your fandom at all. Like I can still root for the Saints to say who that at home. I'm just not about to be sitting up here spending all this money going to this game when I know more than likely, like, they're going to break my heart week after week after week. Like, nah, I'm good on it. I'm good. I mean, I hope this is making sense to some. The dome will be like it was when COVID-19 hit and there were no fans in the stands in 2020. That's the prediction in 2023. Yeah, if it is, if it stays the way that it does. Yep, P. Carmichael is going to be a bigger fall guy than Lee Majors in the all season for sure. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. He's going to be the fall man, which that's kind of like how it goes. Like if they want to keep a guy around, two people that probably going to end up going. If you're an offensive minded coach, the defensive coordinator. If you're a defensive minded coach, the offensive coordinator, or the GM, it's going to be like somebody like that. But I just don't think that people are just going to buy it. Like Pete Carmichael, does he leave a lot to be desired offensively? Absolutely. But to say that Pete Carmichael is the problem, like 100% the problem, like the main guy, nah. I think we all know that. This franchise will be cursed for years to come because of how they treated and used deception towards Jameis Winston. Well, I'll tell you what, if that's the case, then yeah, it's going to be rough, but at the same time, it's a business, like it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? It's a business. I know sometimes like business tactics sometimes can be a little bit cold, but I mean, that whole is better me than them type thing. You know, that's how people feel. And I do honestly feel like they pretty much never wanted this dude to pan out in the first place. Like if he would have panned out, like of course they would have accepted it. But I just think for the first line of trouble that they saw, they was willing to kind of, like kind of pull on, you know what I'm saying, yank the chain and, you know what I'm saying, get them off stage, Sandman Sim style. You know, I just feel like, it's way more lax, it's way more accommodating for Andy Dalton. No matter if he throw a touchdown or not, no matter if he performs well in the red zone or not. If he don't perform well in the red zone, they're gonna be talking about his third down conversion rate. If his third down conversion rate sucks and he had 2 touchdowns in the game in the red zone, they're gonna be talking about them 2 touchdowns. It's just the way that it is, man. Like they are going out their way to justify that. But it just seemed like to me, like when it came to Jameis, when he didn't play so good, the mistakes were, really amplified. It was more on him. I've never seen, as bad as I've seen some of the games and some of the decisions that Andy Dalton made, I've never seen Dennis Allen come out there and just say Andy needs to play better or the quarterback needs to make decisions like it did when Jameis was hurt down the stretch and he started talking about, well, I seen a couple passes, he should have got the ball in his hand at this particular time. I'm just saying. But it seemed like to me, like, okay, like if you're going to tell a story about one, you need to tell a story about everybody else. That's all I'm saying. That's all. And honestly, man, if you've been watching the State of the Saints podcast, man, you know where I stand. I'm not just sitting up here just trying to like be a defender of Jameis Winston. I'm just calling him like it is. Like, go back and watch that, man. You tell me. Okay, man, some of you, you probably gonna feel like it's justified because you probably don't like the dude anyway. But all I'm asking, even if you are not the biggest Jameis Winston fan, I want you to go back and put this into perspective and put yourself in that position. Like, really, I'm like, seriously, don't smack your lips. Don't be like, man, whatever, TJ. Like, I'm serious, man. Like, really think about what happened. Some of the things that transpired, put yourself in that position. I don't care where it is. I mean, of course, none of us are quarterbacks in the National Football League, but put yourself in that position. Like, if you working at a job for a good little minute, let's just say you working, I don't know. Let's just say you working somewhere for like 3 years. All of a sudden, I'm saying, you're doing a good job or something like that. And then, all of a sudden, I don't know, man, you had a bad day. You got into it with your wife or your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, and maybe, you came in and it wasn't the best day for you. It wasn't the best day. And it just so happened to be a day where the big wigs show up, right? And they don't see you at your best. All of a sudden, like, you just go out there, just, they be like, man, he's the supervisor. Now, I don't know about that, man. What's the other guy? Like, who's the assistant guy? Well, he's been here for I don't know how long, but he's a really good guy. Let's trade him with him. Like, how would that make you feel? Like, man, hold on, man. Wait a minute. Now. Like, man, I just had a bad day, man. I've been grinding here for 3 years. I ain't never show up late. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm dealing with life problems and I'm being judged based on it. Like, how fair would that be if your job be taken away from you based on it? Like, when you not at your best. That's kind of like what happened. Like, you knew, like, in the super, let's just say the supervisor, what I'm saying, of the place is talking to the big wigs and they don't defend you. Like, man, I seen this guy work, man. He one of the hardest workers I got. He's one of the best, he's one of the best workers we got. He ain't say none of that. He just kind of nodded his head. Like, how would that make you feel? Like, I'm just saying, put yourself in that position. Sometimes it's easy for us to just sit up here and when we may be in favor of the, of the opposition, we just kind of like, okay, man, whatever. But I'm just saying, put yourself in that position. You tell me if that's fair or not. The way things are going, we might lose a lot of people in free agency. Roderick, thank you very much for the $5, man. I appreciate that. But yeah, I just feel like, man, something ain't right about that. I remember when my grandma and I went to the 2002 Panthers game in the Dome, and the fans were booing Brooks for DeLome. 2002 was an underrated, disappointing season. Well, I mean, when you think about it in hindsight, may not have been the worst idea in the world. I mean, Jake Delhomme ended up going to Carolina. Or I don't know if you're talking about Jake Delhomme being in Carolina. I don't think he was in Carolina at that particular time. I might be mistaken. I don't know if he was there or not, but if he was the backup, at that time, then I can understand why people were booing, because Jake Delhomme ended up, taking Carolina to the Super Bowl, even though they lost to the New England Patriots. I mean, still. Let's see. Hey, TJ, even Andy Dalton be looking mad on the sidelines when he be playing up and down and the team keep losing. Well, look, I mean, dude is passionate. He's passionate about the game. And look, I have no problem with Andy Dalton at all. Like, I don't. Like, I just, my biggest issue is people looking at this dude like he like Joe Montana or something like that. Like, dude is about the most average quarterback that you can find. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is C+ player right here. You know what I'm saying? This is the epitome of a C. Average. Like, can you win with average? Of course. To me, Kirk Cousins is average. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, Jimmy Garoppolo is average. Like, you have average quarterbacks that can make some plays and stuff like that. And we've seen throughout Andy Dalton's career that he can make plays. So, I mean, but the dude is only trying to take advantage of the opportunity that's given to him. I mean, but it's boring. Like, it's just boring. It's not fun to watch. I mean, it's just about as vanilla as Baskin Robbins ice cream, man. And I don't know, man. If I'm a go down, I would like to go down swinging. I would like to go down being entertained. All right, we've been through enough this season in the Who Dat Nation. Saints ain't making the playoffs. They ain't winning nothing. I mean, at least we can go out here and make it interesting, man. I mean, a triple reverse or something, you know what I'm saying, that we can get excited about. I don't know, man. It just is boring quarterback play. And this is a person that feels like, man, if they run the football and it works, I'm all for it. But I'm just saying it's boring. It's boring because, number one, it ain't really working. It's not working. It's just uninteresting, man. It's not interesting at all. It sucks. So I mean, I'm just saying, unload the clip. At least make it interesting for those that that want to watch the game. It sucks. Some people might love it. You know what I'm saying? Some people like boring football. That first game when DA and AD thought Winston was hurt, they were physically excited. He went into the tent. When Winston came back out, both of their faces frowned. Well, at that particular time, I mean, they were playing pretty bad. So I think a lot of people's faces were frowned to their defense on that. But yeah, I do agree that. I mean, I do agree that. I don't say I agree, but I just feel like, man, it just they yanked the carpet from under this dude too prematurely, if you ask me. They did, hey, it is what it is. I agree, and we probably not getting Mike T to take a pay cut if DA is back. You probably would, because Michael Thomas likes Dennis Allen a lot. He likes him a lot, so he might end up doing it. Marrone is prehistoric. You can say what you want about Doug Marrone, but he fixed Cesar Ruiz. So with that alone, I'll give him credit for it. Like, the offensive line, yeah, it's slow, but you don't have Eric McCoy. Andrews Pete in and out of the lineup. Cesar Ruiz been playing outstanding. James Hurst is a career backup almost, and Trevor Penning has been injured. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like he's still like in preseason mode. Like, because I mean, he hasn't really had opportunity to really practice and for months, because he had to be off of his feet. You know what I'm saying? So he has to like get in shape and kind of work on some things that he could have have worked on if he didn't get injured. So just the fact that he fixed Cesar Ruiz, to me, is a plus. Like, it sometimes, like, you got to look at things and be like, okay, what did that person do? What did they do well? Was that person, by being here, was beneficial in any way? Him fixing Cesar Ruiz, I have to say it was. I have to say that it was. Interesting to know who you like to see win it all. Being that we're out of it, me personally, I like to see Jalen Hurts and Philly winning. Uh, to be quite honest with you, man, I don't like none of these teams like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I hate the Cowboys. I hate the Minnesota Vikings. I don't want to say hate Minnesota Vikings. I'm not a fan of Minnesota. Not a fan of. Well, I like seeing Philadelphia play. I like seeing Philadelphia play, but I don't know, man. Like just looking at these teams, like to me, like if the 49ers can end up going to Super Bowl, I wouldn't be mad at that. Like I wouldn't be mad at that. I like to see like a team like Detroit like ruin the Dallas Cowboys season or something like that. They find themselves in a wild card game and they go out there. They ain't got no defense, but if they can go out there and like put up some points and catch a couple picks from Dak Prescott just to rip the heart out of the Dallas Cowboy fans, I would love that. I ain't gonna lie to you. Yeah, I mean, San Francisco, would probably be the team that I would look at and be like, okay, I wouldn't be mad at. Probably be the only team in the NFC, personally. If the Detroit Lions found their way, like, as a dark horse or something like that and pull off some type of miracle, I wouldn't be mad at that either. But I mean, I like watching Philadelphia Eagles play. I ain't gonna lie, I like seeing them play. They exciting, and they innovative. They got a lot of talent on their team. A lot of the talent, that they have come from, at our expense, and they probably gonna get somebody even more talented at our expense yet again. So, but I like seeing them play. I ain't gonna hate, because, and I'm not honestly gonna hate on the decision, because I often say this: if the shoe was on the other foot, like we would feel the same way Philadelphia Eagles fan feeling right now. It ain't no fun when a rabbit got the gun, but I mean, I like watching them play. Wish we could have gotten a full season with Jameis. I'm always wonder what if he's never got hurt last year and this year, but I'm rooting for him wherever he goes. He deserves it, in my opinion. Yeah, the guy deserves the opportunity to, continue to play. I feel so bad for him because the last the last visuals that you have is basically the things that people have basically things that these talking heads have put on him. Like he's an unfixable quarterback. He's a turnover machine. I just feel bad for him, because he didn't have opportunity to play when he was relatively healthy or starting to heal up. I mean, I feel bad for him. If he would have played in that Atlanta game and played the way that he did, facilitating that comeback, and he didn't play the next week in Tampa, against Tampa, I think that it would have forced Dennis Allen's hand. It would have forced him. Like, even if you can't justify Andy Dalton continuing to start because the last visual we had of Jameis Winston was him facilitating a 4-quarter comeback. So that's why I said I feel like it's a little bit of sabotage here. It's like the last visual we had was him not playing at his best. So for those that may be on the fence or not fans of Jameis Winston at all, it justifies him being on the bench. Because if he would have just played in Atlanta, you had no choice but to say, okay, man, this dude need to come back and play. Because if you didn't, then you would look like the hater that you already are. Probably inside your heart, it would be out loud. And everybody knows that people don't like to be exposed. They don't like to be exposed. But we know that probably would have happened. You would have had zero choice but to concede that this dude deserves to play. But the last visuals you have is him stinking up the joint, and now it's like, well, you see, that's the reason why Andy Dalton's starting, so there you go. I like to see the Ravens win it all. Nothing else Lamar could force the Ravens to open up the checkbook and make the bank bounce. Yeah, I mean, look, I ain't got no problem with none of the AFC teams. I like to see Buffalo in the Super Bowl, man. I mean, look, they went to four Super Bowls, didn't win one. I'd like to see them. That fan base deserve a lot. They seem like a fun fan base. Wouldn't mind seeing Buffalo in the Super Bowl. Wouldn't mind seeing Joe Burrow go back to the Super Bowl, win one. wouldn't mind Mahomes. Like, man, look, I like the AFC teams. I like them. I like them a lot. I think that they got the best conference, and all those teams that are pretty much that in that playoff picture are pretty fun to watch. I mean, so I wouldn't mind any team in the AFC. I wouldn't. I wouldn't mind any team. But I'm always like, if the Saints can't do anything, I'm always rooting for the underdog because I know how it feels to like root for a team and things just don't pan out, and it just hurtful every single year. You ain't gonna go nowhere. I'm rooting for the Jets. Like, man, these people are loyal and they love their team, and you'll like to see them have some level of prosperity. You'll like to see them have some level of prosperity. So, yeah, I'm always rooting for like the underdogs. This is the second black quarterback Allen has messed over. Says facts. I'm rocking with the Bengals and the Ravens. I would like to see Detroit in the Super Bowl. Mega Prime, who was the first quarterback? I can't stand them Cowboys. Their fans won't shut up. I hope they get eliminated from the playoffs. Well, if they play the way they did against the Houston Texans, man, the Houston Texans, I don't know what happened with that. They just realized, I don't know. Maybe they just realized they might lose their first pick overall. And they was like, man, wait a minute, man. We weren't supposed to be winning. We the Texans. And then they allowed Dak Prescott to facilitate a 98-yard touchdown drive. I don't know. I don't know. It was kind of funny to me. Jameis was a hell of rotten beans and wasn't given a real shot to make mistakes and learn from them. Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, they just yanked the carpet from him pretty quickly. I mean, look, and I know some people might be looking at this and be like, man, TJ, some of the episodes that you was talking about may be a little bit different. And you know what I'm saying? I can, I can concede to that because I think that I didn't really have an opportunity to really look at the whole, like, there's so much Saints news coming around, and sometimes, some things can kind of slide under the cracks. And when you don't have an opportunity to kind of sit back and assess the situation, and I didn't. But when I look at it, I'm like, I looked at the situation, I put myself in that situation, and I just thought about, is that fair? And honestly, it's not. It's not. And it's not because and I'm not saying this because it's a rallying cry to start Jameis Winston. I want to make that very, very clear. But what I'm saying is, it just seemed like to me, like the carpet was yanked from underneath him pretty quickly. And it was more about, like pointing out his limitations versus pointing out Andy Dalton's limitations. I don't really see the Saints pointing out Andy Dalton's limitations. Like, even if, like, I'm telling you, if he struggles in the red zone, they're going to start talking about his third down conversion rate or a wide receiver dropping a pass, or, it's always something. I never like see, like, I'm talking about some of his worst performances. Like, we all heard it. Like, even with the Arizona Cardinals, like, this dude come out here, throw 2 back-to-back pick sixes, and he comes out and says, what? Keep on doing what you're doing. Keep on doing what he's doing. Like, so it just seemed like to me, like, regardless of how bad he plays or how mediocre he plays or whatever happens, it just seemed like, okay, man, we're going to roll with him no matter what. It's almost like that movie Draft Day, and, Kevin Costner, who played the GM for the Cleveland Browns, and, Chadwick Boseman, who played the linebacker from Ohio State, Mac, and, like, he had on a piece of paper, like on one of them papers, like, Mac, no matter what. I just feel like it's the same way with Dennis Allen and Andy Dalton. Like, Andy Dalton, no matter what. That's, I don't know. Like I said, just put yourself in that position. You tell me if it's right or wrong. DeWine, can you imagine the Lions winning their first Super Bowl since the Bobby Lane curse? These people in Michigan, Detroit, and even Toledo, Ohio, which is close to Detroit, would go nuts. Yeah, they would. Yeah, everybody remember, like, the curse of Bobby Lane. For those that may not know, Detroit Lions back in the day traded their star quarterback Bobby Lane to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he wasn't very happy about it. And he said, that the Detroit Lions will never win a Super Bowl. So they call that the curse of Bobby Lane for my young viewers of the show, and maybe not as in depth with the historical significance of that. Let's see. I hope the Saints get DTR as a quarterback. Let's see. AFC is more talented and hype, but the NFC Eagles are widely considered the best team in the NFL. There's always a balance. Well, there's not much balance between the NFC and the AFC. What you have is the Eagles pretty much beating up on a pretty bad NFC. Like, it's pretty bad here. But the AFC, I mean, they pretty talented. They're pretty talented. You can talk about the Minnesota Vikings, but the Minnesota Vikings, to me, they remind me of the Steelers. I want to say last year, a year before last. They went like 11-0 or something like that. And then they end up, it was the year before last because Baker Mayfield played them in the playoffs, and they end up like beating them boys into submission. Like, it was like 38-0 almost in the game. So, that's kind of what Minnesota reminds me of. Sometimes like in the NFL, it's better to be lucky than good. Like, sometimes you need that, things to go your way. Sometimes, you might have a season where, you might double doink and the ball might fall into the back of the goalpost, and it's good. Then you have those seasons where they double doink and it kicks out. Sometimes you have to have a little bit of luck, in order, to win some of these games, like even last year. Like last year, the Detroit Lions were in pretty much every game they were in. They were just, what can you do when Justin Tucker kicking 67-yard field goals? Like, what can you do, when, Aaron Rodgers facilitating last minute drives and stuff? Like, it was coming down to one possession and they were losing. But this year it's coming down to one possession and they're winning. I think they won like 9 games. Like, no, I think it was like, not 9 games, but they won like quite a few games. Like when it came down to final possessions, and they won the majority of them. So, sometimes you need the ball to bounce the way it needs to go, and they're getting some lucky bounces this year. TJ video shows that Jameis catches his receivers in stride, while Andy Dalton doesn't have to stop football in the jar at a time before they catch it. And these are the facts. Well, that is true. Like, do I feel like, Jameis Winston can, catch Chris Olave in stride? Yeah. Do I feel like Chris Olave, like, to me, if Jameis Winston was the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, like, and he didn't get hurt, like, it wouldn't even be. Look, I'm not saying that the Saints record wouldn't be the same, because look, I still don't believe these coaches can coach anybody. I just feel like they just gonna always get in their own way. But I feel like if Jameis Winston was a quarterback, it would be like, without a shadow of a doubt, that Chris Olave is the offensive rookie of the year. Like, the Saints ain't even really tapping into Chris Olave's full skill set. The last time Jameis Winston played with Chris Olave before he got yanked, Chris Olave almost had 200 yards receiving. I don't know if y'all remember that or not. And he should have had 200 yards receiving, you want to be honest with you. Like, because he caught a pass down the field. I think he ended up dropping it or fumbled out. I don't even remember, but it was something of that magnitude. Like, he almost had like 200 yards receiving. So, Jameis Winston was going to add that thing out to him. So all these 60-yard games and 70-yard games that they had, like, this dude probably would be at 1,000 yards right now. He probably would have like 5 or 6 touchdowns, and it would leave very little doubt that he would be offensive rookie of the year, because he'll be getting the majority of the targets. So I do feel like, that's probably it. But yeah, it's no question that Jameis Winston has better arm talent than Andy Dalton. I just feel like Andy Dalton is more of a sure thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like knowing the rules of a game in Vegas, right? Like, if you go to a crap table, you know craps work, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, but if you go over here to this game right here, you're not too sure about, I don't know about this. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure that I can learn this, but it's probably going to take me some time. And I don't want to, get gypped. I'll be winning and they don't tell me, like something like that. So I just feel like Andy Dalton is more of a sure thing, and they're comfortable with that. And maybe they're like, well, I feel comfortable with saying this. They're afraid to think outside the box. And I don't feel bad about saying that because their coaching kind of reflects that. So I just think that Andy is more of a sure thing, and it doesn't allow them to think very hard. You know, sometimes you're playing the Saints in the playoffs, and Kyle Rudolph pushes off in the end zone for a touchdown. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, sometimes you need those calls. Sometimes you need that luck. 49ers the type of team that doesn't need an elite quarterback, just a smart game manager. Yeah, I mean, look, they went in with Purdy, you know, like Mr. I don't call that man Mr. Irrelevant, because if you're in the NFL, look, you relevant. You know what I'm saying? You relevant because you got to a point that a lot of us, you know what I'm saying, wish that we were, you know, in, or thousands of other players wish they were in. So I'm not going to talk about that man like that. But yeah, you know, like if you have the right coach, he's going to put his team in a position to succeed. And Kyle Shanahan is a really good coach, and he's showing it, because he's showing that no matter how average a quarterback is, no matter how mediocre he is, he's still winning with him. So our season was doomed when we let Seeded Deuce go for a bag of Lay's chips. Yeah, you got to ask, man. You got to ask, was that the best decision in the world? Because a lot of the fire and passion left with him. So, TJ, this idea of Sean Payton and Tom Brady coming to New Orleans next year is ridiculous. It would not end good for the organization. Have to screw old James. Yeah, look, man, I ain't buying it. I'm not buying this Tom Brady, Sean Payton to New Orleans thing. I just don't. Look, Tom Brady is basically making it off reputation right now. People aren't really just, you know, telling him he needs to retire because of all the things that he's done. But Tom Brady looks washed, and I don't care what anybody says. Like, you may not want to have this conversation, but I will. And this isn't sour grapes. Like, the dude is not as good as he once was. I ain't saying he fell off a cliff. I still think he better, you know what I'm saying? He better than, you know, quite a few quarterbacks in the league. But us sitting up here, you know what I'm saying, trying to, like, you know, man, we need Tom Brady. Like, come on, man. Like, I just think that the Saints need to go in a different direction. They just need to go in a different direction. Like, if you're going to start over, let's start over. Let's get the quarterback that you feel like is the future of the franchise, and let's put some things around him in order for him to succeed. And let's put a coach around him that make sure that you put the right offensive scheme and defense around him in order for him to be successful. That's all I'm saying. Like, let's stop wasting our time and trying to look at the Mike Whites and the Mac Jones of the world. You know what I'm saying? The ones that's mediocre, we feel like, oh man, we, you know, come to us and maybe they'll play a little better. Look, no, man, get your guy and let's make it work. You know, let's make it work. Instead of just sitting up here trying to dig in the crates and, you know, sweat to the oldies like Richard Simmons, like bringing in Andy Dalton and trying to bring in Tom Brady. Like, man, let's just get ourselves a young, as they say, whippersnapper, and, you know, let's go from there. Like, trying to keep on trying to hold on to the past and trying to find people that, you know, that resemble Drew Brees, that think like Drew Brees, that, you know, calling plays that you think Drew would like. Like, come on, man. Like, let's just find somebody that's going to be out there that you can build an offense around and make it his team. I just think that that's the issue. It's too many Peytonisms and Breesisms around this thing. Like, we're not taking into account how special those guys are. And you should, because, you know, you're seeing that the coaching staff is dropped off and the quarterback player dropped off. And you're realizing that these guys don't grow on trees. So now that you know that they don't grow on trees, how about you go out there and try to find, you know, how about you go out there and find some seeds and plant your own tree? Gotta go, keep telling the truth, TJ. Keep the faith, guys. Yeah, I'm about to go as well, man. I'm gonna read a few more, then we're gonna get up out of here. Let's see. Brady is going to keep fooling around, and the game is going to retire him. Yeah, I mean, look, Tom Brady to me, you know, I don't, heck, man, the hell with it. I just feel like Tom Brady's just playing around because he got this newfound freedom. Seriously. And I think that Tom Brady, here's the reality. Tom Brady retired for 40 days and 40 nights. And he realized that no matter how great you are, no matter how special you are, the game keeps going. It keeps going. Like they gave him his send off and they did the highlights and all that kind of stuff there. But after that, it was time to move on. And it was time for us to find another face of the franchise or the face of the NFL. And they started really being heavy on the Josh Allen and really heavy on the Patrick Mahomes. And then Brady was at home, like realizing that, hey, man, shoot, the game moves on, and, there's a chance that I might not be relevant again, and I think that was one of the main issues. Then on top of that, now you got this newfound freedom. You know what I'm saying? You got divorced. You know what I'm saying? You in Florida. You know what I'm saying? You sliding in girls' DMs and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You getting that attention. I mean, when you out there, you the star quarterback of a team. You know what I'm saying? That's appealing. When you're the former retired quarterback, like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? You still gonna get some play, but ain't nothing like, you know what I'm saying, like, going out there playing the game and stuff like that. So I just think that played a huge role in him coming back. The fact that he just realized that the game moves on without him. TJ, I'm enjoying my new smart TV. It's a 55-inch Roku smart TV, and I love it. Well, that's great, man. And thank you for the commercial announcement right there. I'm pretty sure fine folks at Roku really would appreciate that. But yeah, all jokes aside, man, I'm glad you're enjoying your television. I'm glad you're enjoying your television. Ain't nothing like a great television. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, so in our house, man, we got a television in a living room, man. I love it. You know what I'm saying? It's a smart TV, and man, it's just something about a TV. Like watching a game on a nice size 55, 65, 75-inch TV. Or even like if you got a 32-inch, man, if it got some good quality on there, it's nothing like it. Yeah, man. I mean, look, I'm real big on that type of stuff, like smart TVs and stuff. Pretty cool, man. Pretty cool stuff. I'm gonna stroll down and read a few more. The Peyton Turner draft pick made me mad tonight, and I'm still mad at it today. The crazy thing about this is while I'm thinking about it, and I appreciate you saying bringing this up, Nestle, but it just made me think about something. Everybody talking about well, Sean Payton, he got out of Dodge because he's seeing this thing falling. And he just, he's a smart guy. I think I heard Colin Cowherd say this. He got out of Dodge. Now, what we're not accounting for is if the Saints are going in a bad direction and they ain't got much to choose from, it's his fault. You know what I'm saying? Like seriously. Yeah, like you can talk about Mickey Loomis all freaking day and night, but let's just keep it a buck. We know that Sean Payton is just as instrumental as selecting these players and bringing these guys in as Mickey Loomis. So when people just sit up there and just pretend that the Saints don't have the franchise quarterback, they don't have a young running back, they didn't have the guy that can come in to replace Michael Thomas or be that number 2 guy, that don't fall at the feet of Sean Payton is just absolutely ridiculous. Like, seriously. So, he don't want to come back to this. What, you don't want to come back to the mess that you made or you helped to make? That makes no sense. Like, I get it, right? I get it. I completely understand. Sean Payton leads the Saints. He made them a legitimate franchise. They looking bad right now. Just makes them look even more better as a coach, because it just seemed like, everything goes to what when he's not here. But come on, man. Like, you was instrumental at drafting Peyton Turner. You was instrumental at drafting Marcus Davenport. You was, instrumental at not selecting a quarterback or trying to look at a quarterback. You was like, the quarterback, you got Taysom Hill, you got Jameis Winston. Drew might be here for a good little minute. So you did all these things, but people sitting up here acting like he was gone for 3-4 years. No, the Saints are in this position because of you. So, like, come on, man. Like, you seen he's seen the bottom dropping out. Like the bottom dropping out because you did it. Like if the bottom dropping out, guess what? You ever seen one of them cartoons and they got the guy, one of them cartoon characters, they get the saw and be sawing the boat and putting a hole in the boat. That's kind of like what he did. Like, bruh, if Mickey Loomis' hand was on the saw, like cutting on this side, you was over here cutting on this side. That, and now the boat has sunk. So if that's justification for you not coming back, then honestly, that makes you a coward. Like seriously, like it makes you just like, man, I care more about my reputation, than his team or whatever like that. This is my reputation on the line, because that's why I feel. I just feel like, you don't have a franchise quarterback. You had Drew Brees all those years, and now you're looking at a reputation, because now you're sitting up here talking about he's looking for a team that's already have an established franchise quarterback. Well, the Saints don't have an established franchise quarterback is because you didn't do your due diligence, or you wasn't adamant enough about trying to find Drew Brees' successor. You basically were just out here trying to find projects that you can actually try to, fix and all that kind of stuff, but you wasn't accounting for the fact that maybe some of those projects may not be able to work out. So I mean, this whole like he left and he seen what was coming. Like, okay, if you saw that what was coming, you made it this way. I mean, am I right or am I wrong? Like, seriously, like, how can you sit up here and give this dude a pass? Like, oh, I can look, if Sean Payton was like a 2-year or 3-year coach and he had 2 or 3 years of success and he tried to get up out of here, I can understand that. Okay, to a certain extent. But you've been here for 15 years as a head coach, and we all know about the relationship that you and Mickey Loomis have and how instrumental, well, how cooperative you are with one another, from bringing in the right wide receiver that can accommodate Drew Brees' skill set to the towels that you have inside of the stadium. This is what he said. So if the Saints aren't successful and they don't have a franchise quarterback, and you're saying, hey, like if the Saints ain't got no franchise quarterback, well, duh, your fault. You're responsible for that. So I don't know. You can't sit up here and take your ball and go home and try to pretend like you didn't take your ball and go home. It don't work like that. Like I would like, you can say what you want about Bill Belichick. You can say whatever you want about Mike Tomlin. The reality is this: when those guys lost their franchise quarterback, they didn't dip out. They didn't quit. They ain't say, oh man, that's it for me. You know what I'm saying? God bless, good night. They ain't hit you with the Russell Simmons on Def Jam. I mean, people talking about, man, Sean Payton was burnt out. Man, miss me with that. Miss me with that. Okay. Look, I get it. I completely understand. But me personally, I ain't got a dog in the fight. Reality is this dude straight up dipped out on his team. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to continue to say this. I've been saying this for months. If Sean Payton comes back and coaches another team, when this team looking as abysmal as it is right now, I'm telling you, a lot of people are going to really turn on Sean Payton, because now you're looking like, okay, man, Sean, get your rest, get your mental health straight, get all this stuff straight, get yourself together, But it'll be one thing if Sean Payton did this and the Saints were winning. If he comes back to the league and the Saints are losing, it's pretty much going to concede what I already know, and a lot of members of the Who That Nation already know, that you just didn't want to coach this team no more. I mean, look, you can put as much nuggets as you want to out there as you want to. If you wanted to be here, you would have been here. And there are a lot of individuals within the NFL and the insiders that have already said that you had your eye on that Miami Dolphins job. Like, I'm just saying, like, so you already tried to dip out, didn't work out. That kind of helped you save face, to be honest with you. Brian Flores kind of saved the reputation of Sean Payton as the head coach, because can you imagine watching this team go 4-9, and Sean Payton coaching somewhere in Miami and they have a winning record? I'm telling you, like, It's a fine line between being a hero and a villain. And right now, he's not the villain because he's not in football. But if he goes and he tries to coach somewhere else when this team like really needs him the most, I'm telling you, like a lot of people that like, man, has levels of respect for Sean Payton, it might be in question. Might be in question. You're right, TJ. Sean Payton and Gail Benson are the reason the Saints never got a young gun to replace Drew Brees in New Orleans. I ain't blaming Gail Benson because honestly, Gail Benson is just a figurehead at this point. She's a nice lady from everything that I've seen. I mean, look, she ain't like really involved in the Saints decision making like that. Like, you know, when it comes to personnel, like it's up to Mickey Loomis, Jeff Ireland, Sean Payton, you know, guys like that in order to get the right quarterback in there. So I'm not going to put that at the feet of Gail Benson because, I mean, I really just don't sit up. I really don't believe that Gail Benson sitting up here just talking about personnel decisions like Mickey Loomis and Sean Payton would. So I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that about it. I'm not going to put that at her feet. Supposedly, they offer everything they could to keep him, including a year off, and Sean declined that off. Yeah, I mean, I heard about that, man. Shouts out to I want to say, man, who said that? I want to say Nick Underhill said that about that. You know, about they tried to give him like all these different perks and stuff like that, and he didn't want to, you know, agree to it. You know, I don't know. Peyton going to coach the Chargers. They better give us some first round picks. Look, at best, you know, like you still picking in the teens. So how impressive is that? Like, what you gonna get? Like you might be able to get your quarterback. You know, maybe get a better chance at getting Hendon Hooker. I don't know. You know, I still feel like you probably could get Hendon Hooker in the second round. But I don't know. You know, sometimes first round draft picks work out, sometimes they don't. Yeah, you know, like if you trade Sean Payton, yeah, you want to get the best that you possibly can for him. But I mean, who's to say that maybe the Chargers may be one decision, maybe a team that's close in the top 5 might be another decision. Sean needs a real separation from coaching. Stepping away will do it. I don't know. I'm just not buying it. Gail Benson signs the check, so she should have some say so over everything aspect of the Saints. I mean, of course she has the say so. Of course she does. I mean, but man, Gail Benson don't know more about football than these other guys. I'm pretty sure she does know football. You know what I'm saying? Like she has to. Like, but I mean, I don't think, man, she ain't she ain't Jerry Jones or nothing like that. Like I just think that just because a person is an owner of a team don't mean that they just know all the ins and outs of football and knows the ins and outs of like personnel and scouting and all that kind of stuff. And she has advisors. She has advisors, right? So you hire these individuals, man. It's almost like basically what you're doing is like it's like, okay, let's just say you're the president of a corporation, right? A $1 billion corporation. Now you might be good at being in a room and talking and promoting your company and stuff like that, but you have secretaries to like check your emails. You got people to do analytics, right? And you having a meeting. Like, are you gonna know more about analytics than a person that went to school and studied this type of stuff? Of course not. You know, it don't make you a bad owner or a bad, you know what I'm saying, CEO. It's just certain things that you just ain't gonna know. And you have advisors to tell you these things. Oh, you know, like if the stock market did this, you know, I think that you should, you know, make this decision. Like it's just the way that it is. You know, Gail Benson, I'm pretty sure, like I said, knows football to a certain extent, but I'm pretty sure she trusts in guys like Dennis Lauscher and Mickey Loomis and Sean Payton to say, okay, man, we need this guy right here. Like he's a special player. I think that we need to get him because he had so many yards, so many touchdowns. He fits this, what we trying to do here. Okay, get him. Like, was she gonna sit up here? Nah, I don't think so. Like, I think that's very rare if that happens. Let's see. Ogerberson doesn't become the next Georgie from the St. Louis. I don't know exactly what that means. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't know. I don't know what you were trying to say there. I apologize. Hopefully Ingram can come back in the last game or two and give us a better send off. That the running out of bounds before crossing the first down marker. Don't see him back next year. Well, I think he's done. I think he's done completely. To be honest with you, like 30 some odd years old, been dealing with injuries. I don't think a team might re-sign him. But the good thing about Mark Ingram is, like, to me, Mark Ingram probably going to end up like being on College Game Day, like RG3 or something like that. Like I think he probably going to end up being that, probably working in the media in some capacity. But look, they're running out of bounds. To me, it's not an indictment on Mark Ingram as a player for the Saints, in my opinion. I always liked Mark Ingram. I think that when he came in as a first round pick, former Heisman Trophy winner, of course, you're going to have a lot of pressures on you. And did he live up to those expectations the first couple of years? No, he did not. But towards the latter end of his Saints career, the first go round, I mean, he established himself as one of the best Saints running backs that they had. So, he may not been everybody's acquired taste, but to me, like, I'll always like Mark Ingram. I think he ran hard. I think he was a really good teammate. Everybody loved him. I don't think that he phony or fake. I think that his personality is real and genuine. And you need people like that on your team. So I know he ran out of bounds and people won't knock him for that. But, I mean, Mark Ingram has given us more positive moments to me than negative. As he's giving us negative moments, but for the most part, I mean, I can remember, Mark Ingram always bouncing back, fighting hard. Like if he fumble one week or have a bad game, he'll come back the next week, run for over 100 yards and run as hard and as physical as he can. So, I mean, I'm not going to let one instance like just completely poo-poo his dude's entire career. Off topic, Mike Leach passing shocked me. Dude was only 61. Yeah, man. Rest in peace to Mike Leach. They used to call him the mad scientist. I never forget that game. With Texas Tech. I want to say they played against Texas, and they end up getting that upset. Michael Crabtree breaking away from the defender, and everybody storming the field in Lubbock, Texas. Mike Leach was a really good coach. Now, some people, they got their issues with him about his affiliations politically. And I guess, if you vote for a certain person or have a certain political affiliation, it automatically make you a racist. I don't know. I don't know what he said. I don't know what he did. But all I know is when people start talking about, coaches and being racist and but you coaching a sport that's predominantly African American, and I don't know, man. I just feel like some people just jump to conclusions, all this fake outrage, and I'm mad at this dude and he did this in 1825 and we need to hold him accountable, and I don't know. I don't know. All I know is, Mike, I don't get into all that kind of stuff because I always ask myself this. I'm just keeping it 100, folks. This is how I do it. Am I going to care about it tomorrow? And if the answer is no, then I'm not going to sit up here and act like I'm just completely outraged. I don't have to fake it to make it for absolutely nobody. I don't have to be ultra militant. I don't have to be sitting up here acting like, you know what I'm saying, I'm for the brother man and not the other man and all that kind of stuff there. Like my track record speaks for itself. I have absolutely nothing to prove. I don't have to sit up here and tweet outrage and you know what I'm saying, and wear my blackness on my sleeve all the time, like some people do. Like I just feel like you don't know the dude like that, and I think the dude was a hell of a coach. You know what I'm saying? He was an offensive innovator, and he was a great soundbite. So rest in peace to him. You know, I can't. I'm not gonna sit up here and like people want to, like people just want to find something to be mad about. Like I don't know. People want to get mad at everything, and like I guess they want to. You know, I want to show everybody I'm so socially conscious and aware and woke and like, man, ain't put a dime towards no type of social justice initiative. Don't do anything besides tweet and just call out other people for their shortcomings. But I digress. Ingram is a Saints Hall of Famer. Yeah, of course he is. Of course he is. I swear, Nestle. He was my neighbor for a while in Starkville, Mississippi. Was a nice guy to me and my son. Well, that's good to hear, Aaron. 2023 is probably the last year we can go without blowing the team up and starting over, in my opinion. Yeah. I mean, I think you need to start working on it going into the offseason. It can't stay the same way. Ingram needs to retire. I'm not in I'm not in a position to say, well, a man needs to retire or not, but I've just looked at his injury history, his age, and some of the production that happened this year. It's going to probably be very unlikely that somebody going to end up trying to re-sign him. You know, they probably want to go with a younger bull. Jason Brown says facts. Who your MVP, TJ? My MVP, I have to say Jalen Hurts. Best team, best record, putting up really good numbers. Got AJ Brown looking like an all pro. Got maximizing all his weapons. I got to go with Jalen Hurts. Nobody wants Winston, Dalton, Ingram, Honey Badger, PJ Williams, Shy Tuttle, Call Away, Traquan, Pete, Dennis Allen, Carmichael, but us. Yeah, look, I don't look. I disagree that nobody wants these guys. There's always going to be a place for, some of these guys like Shy Tuttle. I mean, you can find a place for a guy who's like going into his fifth year interior lineman. He can do some good things. Mark Ingram, that might be a little bit of a stretch. Honey Badger, I don't think that he has enough bad equity to a point where people just look at him like he just totally washed, because people still voting for him, in record numbers to make the Pro Bowl, as mediocre as he's been all season long. Traquan, you can find a play for him on somebody's team. He'll end up on somebody's squad. Andrews Pete, he'll end up on somebody's squad. Dennis Allen, of course, as a coordinator, and Pete Carmichael as offensive coordinator. So these guys can find places. It's just bad right now, Debo, and I get it, man. Like when we are going through things and things are just bad, we just feel like, I mean, it's just horrible. And even like the smallest situations seem like they amplified. But they got places for those guys. Thoughts on Levis, the quarterback from Kentucky? I don't really have an opinion about him. I don't. Some people like him, some people don't. But I mean, look, he's done enough, and he shows you enough that he deserves to have opportunity to be a quarterback in the National Football League. Now, do I think that he's a franchise quarterback? Not anything I've seen. Do I think that in the right situation you can win with him? Yeah. No, he's not knocking my socks off with his quarterback talent. I mean, I've seen better, but I'm pretty sure he'll be a starter one day in the league. I would be happy watching a rebuild for a couple of years. This Dalton DA team is horrible. Yeah, I think that a lot of people wouldn't mind seeing that. As long as the team continues to fight and play hard, I don't think people have a problem with it. But I definitely have a problem if you continue to maintain this foolishness. I'm talking about trying to keep these same players, not trying to get faster on defense, not trying to be quicker and more innovative on offense. That's when I have a problem. How the hell he getting Pro Bowl votes? Because of who he is. You know, man, come on, man. Football is always about built up capital. You know, and some people like it's like, what have you done for me lately? Nah, not all the time. When a guy has established himself as one of the best in the league, like he's still gonna be respected among his peers, no matter if he has a down year or not. I guarantee if you do the NFL top 100 next year, he's still gonna be on that list. Like I guarantee, like he might be in the 90s, but he's still gonna be on that list. Man, what Demario Davis got to do to get in the Pro Bowl? Um, I don't know. Well, this year, I like Demario Davis, but those young linebackers played a little bit better. Like P. Warner was playing out his mind, and then you have Caden Ellis. I mean, he's been stepping up, and honestly, like Demario still was, been playing well, but though that production of those young linebackers kind of overshadowed him. And throughout the years, we know that they ain't really been looking at Demario Davis as, a top linebacker because they're always trying to focus on Bobby Wagner. They was always trying to focus on Roquan Smith. So maybe this year he'll probably get the recognition that he deserves because he's more of a mainstay. You have Bobby Wagner who goes to the Rams and Roquan leaves the NFC, goes to the AFC with the Baltimore Ravens. So maybe by the process of elimination and him being a mainstay in the NFC, he'll probably start getting the respect that he deserves. Oh, I want to keep him. People sleeping on Mike. Injuries happen. Look, I have no problem with Michael Thomas. If the Saints retain him and bring him back, I still wouldn't have no problem with it. But I do feel like if you're going to do that, first off, no disrespect to Jarvis Landry, but I would move on from him and I would replace him with a young wide receiver, like a guy in the draft. Okay, I would try to draft a wide receiver, and and I won't say I'll say I'll put it like this: if the Saints was to draft a wide receiver in the second round, I wouldn't be mad because I still feel like you got Chris Olave and he does some really good things, but if you can draft a wide receiver with a build and a skill set kind of similar to that of a Michael Thomas, I wouldn't be mad at that. And I think that's the direction that you need to go in. I know what thing TJ Adebo got to get it together quickly next year because he was horrible. I remember Lockett torched him all game. Well, in the beginning, he was dealing with a high ankle sprain. But I can't justify like that game in Tampa. Like I can't. Like you got to play better. He's a smart guy. So I think he'll get it together. I think he will. What about Rashid Shaheed? Not enough talent to develop. Look, I think Rashid Shaheed is a really talented guy. Like I've been saying this, and I'm gonna continue to say it. He reminds me of a young Antonio Brown. Like if you go back and you watch Antonio Brown play, like when he first got into the league, he was a kick returner, and he wasn't as crisp a route runner as he ended up becoming, like late on in his career. Rashid Shaheed reminds me a lot of, like seriously, a lot of. And I like the dude. I think he's talented. I think he's smart. I think that you can, if you get the right offensive coordinators, this dude can be a weapon. I think that I like it. I like it. Just restructure my contract and draft another offensive weapon. I'm down with it. Yeah. I like Michael Thomas more than the next man, but he has made more money sitting out 3 years and looking like damaged goods. Plus, I think he has beef with the medical team and he gives up on us trade him. I don't know. Well, look, you got to be smart about it. Like we can't just be about just trading him. First off, you got to think about like who wants to trade for a guy that hasn't played in almost 3 years, like consistently. Then you also got to take into account like how is this going to affect your bottom line? A team that's already been dealing with cap issues already. So you got to be smart about it. You can't just sit up here and just be like trade Michael Thomas, man. You got to really figure out like how is this going to affect the team? Like once again, like if we're playing Madden and the salary cap was off, look, have at it, but you got to be smart with the decisions that you're making. And finally, it says Olave could use at least one more year with Mike. There's a lot he can learn from him still. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that you can learn, of course. I mean, Michael Thomas, when he's healthy, one of the best wide receivers in football. So anytime like you can learn something from him, that would be fine. I will say this about Michael Thomas. I just wish that he was more present on the sidelines, especially dealing with these young guys. I understand that he kind of marches to the beat of his own drum. He's a little bit of a loner, but I just feel like even though you don't have a C on your chest, people still look at you as a respected wide receiver. And watching a game on the sidelines, there's always something that you can give to a young guy. Whether it's a certain coverage or something that you notice, and you can always whisper in his ear. You know, like I just think about a situation like against Tampa, right? You know, Chris Olave drops the ball that clearly could have put the Saints in the red zone. They had to end up punting. I mean, he was in his head. He was frustrated. I mean, who is the Michael Thomas, to pull the dude, put his arm around, be like, hey, man, look, you're going to be able to get, what I'm saying? You'll get it next time, man. You know what I'm saying? Stay focused, stay focused. It's just stuff like that. I just think that I just wish he was more present on the sidelines. I just think that would show like true leadership. Not saying that he's not a leader. I'm just saying like, I think that would benefit a lot of these young guys because sometimes, like when it comes to football, if you've been in there long enough, you making the big bucks, guys can kind of look at you as being up here. And if you like just I don't call you a lowly rookie, but if you're just starting out and maybe you basically making league minimum or, you might be a first round pick, make a little bit more. I mean, Michael Thomas talking to you means something. It registers. So I just wish that he would actually be a little bit more present on the sideline. That's the only knock I have on Michael Thomas as far as things that's been going on. But thank you all so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Really do appreciate it. I ask that you hit the like button if you enjoy the State of the Saints podcast. Previous episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM. You can check out the State of the Saints podcast on Facebook.com. You can follow me on Twitter at TJAY Jones 8. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?